Hi everybody, this is Carrie from Stamp with CT. Hope you're having a great day. Most of you know that I live in Texas. I live about an hour south of Dallas, and we are having more rain today. It has been a very rainy spring for us, and while that's great for the trees and the yards and everything, it is not always great for our paper crafting products. So I thought I would do just kind of an impromptu live video and talk to you a little bit about adhesive and humidity. So what kind of prompted this video, and I appreciate you being here, whether you're here live or with the replay, but what prompted this video was I went to get an envelope yesterday and realized that it had started to kind of seal itself shut. So I was able to get them open and use them, but I really know better than that because, like I said, I do live in a humid area, and so I know better than just to leave them out. So I have a couple tips for you as far as your envelopes. When they come from Stampin' Up, they come wrapped in this plastic. So it is really best to leave them in the plastic until you're ready to use them. And then what I do once I've opened them is I put them in a bin like this. So it is great to store a lot of different things, and they're very inexpensive. You can get them at any of the big box stores, and then you can hear that it kind of clicks. So it's not airtight, but it definitely helps to keep that protected and away from the humidity. And then if you don't have something like that right now, a very easy solution is just to put your envelopes into a Ziploc bag, and then that keeps the air away from them and the humidity away from them. Now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about some of Stampin' Up's adhesives. We do have several to choose from, and part of the reason for that is just because people have different preferences of what they would like to use. But some of that is because you need different adhesives for different jobs. So one of my favorites is Snail. It is easy to use. It's a great adhesive. But for right now, this is not one that I would recommend using if you live in a humid area. So let me show you why. Just have some scraps of cardstock here. We're going to go ahead and open up our Snail and put a little bit here on the edge of our cardstock. And we would normally just adhere that. And let's say this is my card base and I'm a little bit wonky here and I want to pick it up and move it. So that's one of the benefits of Snail adhesive, is that it's repositionable, right? That's great, but not when we have this humidity, because what can happen is if you use Snail right now to put your card together, that humidity can kind of get to it and take the stickiness away. So it's not the greatest adhesive to use right now. But I do love my Snail, and I will be getting it back out once this humidity has passed us. I see a couple people are joining. Thanks so much. I'm glad to see you today on this rainy Saturday. Now let's move on to the Tombow liquid glue. This is a nice strong adhesive, and it is actually one, it's kind of my go-to. I do tend to put my cards together with this because it is a good strong adhesive. It's easy to work with, and you can kind of have a little bit of time to adjust and move your pieces around. One of the things about Tombow is we tend to use too much, so it really does not take a lot. You want to just bring it down to the tip and just put a fine bead of glue. That really is all it takes. You'll notice I've come away a little bit from the edge, and I would normally come down all sides of my card layer, and then that way when you attach it, that glue has room to move around but doesn't ooze out the side. It does dry clear if you do use a little bit too much, but it can be a little bit sticky on your project. So just kind of gear back a little bit. You don't have to have a lot. I did see a demonstrator the other day that she said what she does is just puts a little dot in each corner of her card base and in the middle, and that is plenty of adhesive when you're using Tombow. And so I may try that. I do think that that's plenty of adhesive. So you'll save yourself some adhesive and some money and make sure that your project is going to stay together. So definitely recommend Tombow liquid glue right now. Let's move on to one of my absolute favorites. If you know me, you know I love Stampin' Dimensionals. It's even part of the reason why I joined as a demonstrator a little over 7 years ago, is because I really love dimensionals. If you're not familiar with them, they are little foam dots, and they have adhesive on both sides. So when you pull it off, it's already sticky on the one side. You just put it on the corner of your card, and then you can take that backing off. And I have started using my paper piercing attachment on my Take Your Pick tool to remove those backings easier. You can probably actually hear how sticky that is. So this is a great adhesive. If you were layering, this is the layer on your card. You would just adhere it, and I would probably put a dimensional in each corner and then a couple in the middle to make sure that it doesn't sag in the middle of my card layer. But this is a great adhesive for adding your sentiment pieces. Let's say you have a circle or a square or even just a little banner and you want to attach it to your card. So Stampin' Dimensionals are an awesome adhesive, nice and strong. And they do come in 2 colors, white and black, and they come in 2 sizes, which is this size that I have here and then a mini. And I do want to point out that even the edges, you can use your edges. So you get 300 in a package, but you can even cut those edges apart. So don't forget to do that. Let's move on to glue dots. So I'm finding the mini glue dots are another adhesive that Stampin' Up! Offers, and they are usually super, super sticky. In this humidity, I'm finding that it's starting to affect them a little bit too. Now this would normally be my go-to for applying a button or a charm or a bow to my project to make sure that it stays on. And I think that it will still work, but they're just not quite as sticky as normal. So with your glue dots, what you want to be sure and do is to bring your cardstock or your embellishment to it and stick it down. You generally don't want to touch it because it'll get a little bit gummy and it takes some of that adhesive property away. So that's how you would use your glue dots. Or again, you can take that paper piercing tool, whoops, get that backing out of the way, and you can actually go in and lift your glue dot up with it so you're not touching it, and then just attach it where you want it. So that's another way that you can use your glue dots. And I think still it's a strong enough adhesive for us even in this humid climate. Now last I want to show you tear and tape. So this is a double-sided tape, and what's nice about it is it's super strong and you can tear it. So you can cut it if you want to, but you don't have to. So on this, let's say this is our card layer again. I'm just going to put some pieces in the corners, and then you do want to kind of burnish it or press it down with your finger or your bone folder. And bringing in that Take Your Pick tool again, you can remove that paper backing easier by lifting that paper backing up with your Take Your Pick tool. And you can already see it sticking to my finger. And so then that is a nice strong bond when you put that down. So normally I would not use tear and tape to put my cards together, but during this humid season, I think that I may even do that on the corners, little piece in the center, and make sure that those cards stay together for my recipients. Now I do want to show you a project, this little 3D box that my bestie LaDonna made me, and it's probably been a good month ago that she made these, and you can see that it is still holding its shape. It's still just as adorable as it was when she gave it to me. And I've taken the lid off and put the lid back on a couple of times. So she did use tear and tape to put this together. So we always use it for our 3D projects, that or the liquid glue, but just to show you that this really does last. So again, you may want to use that for your cards for right now. So one last tip for you. Once you have spent all your time and used your products to make beautiful projects, you want to protect them. So the way that I do that is I place them in the bin, kind of like what I showed you for the envelopes, and I just stack them up. I have my bin labeled with maybe birthdays or get well, and I just line them up in that bin. Now, before I started putting them in our clear envelopes, I noticed that they may stick together, and so you might pull an embellishment loose. The humidity may have gotten to it, and some of that adhesive may have loosened. So I started putting these a couple years ago in our clear envelopes, and Stampin' Up! Does have a package of 50 of these, and they really do protect your cards, not only from the humidity, but also, like I said, from sticking to each other. And you've worked so hard on these, so make sure that they stay nice. And what's great is that you can actually, let's say I'm ready to send this card, just going to take it out. And what I do is pop this envelope back into my box, and so I can reuse it over and over. And my project that I'm sending, whoops, is perfect. It's still, everything's adhered. It looks great. So I hope that these tips will help you with adhesive and humidity. I hope that you are using your paper crafting superpower to help encourage and support other people. We have such a great hobby that we love. So I hope that you stay safe and you stay crafty and use the right adhesive for your projects. Talk to y'all soon.